Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you for your perseverance and your stamina through these 2 days. We've got a very fun session for you this afternoon. I exec this strand of sessions called Art Ofs. And Art Ofs are normally about content, which is lovely. And the Art Ofs, we started off by having one person. It was like a mini masterclass. Then occasionally we'd have two. And now we've extended into a whole castful to help you today. And we'll be talking about the art of character creation. Sessions produced by Katie Simmons down here, who's going to be busy. And the busiest person in the room, as you'll shortly find out, is Mr. John Hancock, who will host your way. And he will introduce you to everyone else. So I'll set you off now. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Ali. And hello, everyone. So here we go. This is going to be a high energy session. And it is, in case you are in the wrong room, a mini masterclass looking under the bonnet at what it takes to go through perhaps some of the inception and the development of a successful character. And here on the screen, you will see in a second a bunch of characters to give you some inspiration. Now, there is, of course, no right or wrong way to develop a character, and goodness knows there's certainly no right or wrong way to win a commission. So suffice to say that we are going to be dealing with this in very broad brushstrokes over the next hour, but we hope that we will try to unpack for you some of the things that influence getting a character-based idea from a seed to a commission. Now, as you can see, I have a very esteemed panel here, and I will be introducing them in a second. But we would like to just find out a little bit about who we've got in the room so that we can hopefully try and tailor some of our answers and input so that it will be most relevant to you. So can I just have a quick show of hands? And believe me, this is just the very start of the interaction I need from you in this room. Hands, writers. We've got writers in the room. Fantastic. Anyone that kind of character design or animators? Wonderful. Broadcasters? Production companies or producers? Fantastic. Ideas people? That should be everyone.
Voice actors?
You have just stitched yourself up. Yes, anyone in the voice kind of side of things, voice, audio? Oh, this is perfect. Right, here we go then. So I'm going to introduce the panel now. They are representative of the entire broadcast industry, so no pressure, no pressure. One by one, I will go down the route and tell you who they are. So Chitra Soundar here, representing all creators of ideas everywhere. So Chitra is an internationally published award-winning author of children's books, writer of kids' TV, audio and theatre. She's the creator of Nickel and Jay, currently airing on CBeebies and BBC iPlayer. She's currently developing a new animated preschool show while also writing new books. Hooray! Fantastic. To her right, we have Bridget Banton, representing all TV channels, platforms and broadcasters everywhere. So Bridget is a creative consultant and a founder of Dear Creative Girl. She commissioned kids content for CBBC, Channel 5's Milkshake, Penguin Random House Audio and Channel 4 Learning. A little smattering of applause for Bridget. To her right, we have Becky Overton, representing all writers everywhere. A lot of love in the room. So Becky's written and head written for animation and live action and some puppets in between, apparently, featuring loved characters such as Thomas the Tank Engine, Miffy, Mr. Tumble, Nickel and Jay, 123 Number Squad, the Football Fantastics, Biff and Chip, the Mix-em-Ups, and of course, Treasure Champs. And she had to say that because it was mine. To her right, we have Julie and Dean, representing all actors, voiceover artists, everywhere. So Julianne Dean has worked in the animation industry as a voiceover actor for over 30 years and runs the innovative Scripts Out Loud company, providing services and events that create opportunities for actors and animation companies to work better together. Her credits include Millie and Lou, Paw Patrol, and she's currently playing Gran in Stan and Gran. A little round of applause for Julianne. And finally, but by no means least, we have Katie Gascoigne representing all animation and character designers everywhere. Katie's currently a creative development producer at Blue Zoo. She worked on new IPs like Mojo Swap Tops for Sweet CBeebies and is the author and illustrator of the children's book This Animal. Can we give them a warm round of applause? Fantastic. Now, I was going to whiz down the panel here and ask them which characters they were most like, but I'm going to save that in case we really dry up, because I think we've got a lot to kind of get through, so that's just my go-to if I need to fill some time at the end. Right, we're going to kind of see what we can all do together in a very short amount of time to try and come up with a character based on the following criteria, the following kind of boundaries, just to try and give us something of a structure to work to. Think preschool, animated character with a particular interest or skill. That's where we're at. I'd like you to have a little think about that. And while you do, I would like to just be very clear. Please don't share any ideas that you currently have in active development, just because I don't know what lawyers would say as to who owns such an idea. And neither do we want anything that has been out there before. Let's steer clear from blue dogs with an Australian accent. Okay, let's try and do something else. So everything that we come up here is ours. We can co-own it together. Okay, there we go. Now, while you're having a little think, I'm going to bring a question to Chitra first of all. We had a fantastic creative keynote last night about Paddington, beautiful Paddington, and we were told how there was such a sense of authenticity between Michael Bond, the creator, and Paddington himself. And I just want to speak to that question of authenticity, because with the best will in the world, we're not going to come up with something here and now that we all have in common with, but you have. So how important is it as creators to have characters that we feel an authenticity to?
I think when you're creating characters, I would always, whether it's an animal I'm creating or a person, there's something of me in that character, and there is a point of view that I can give to that character so that I can speak through them. So I've done 60 books, and there are like probably 40 characters in all of them, but they're all a little bit like me in some form or shape. And the same with Nickel and Jay. Obviously, it came from, I stole from my nephews, but again, from there, what I tell, what stories I tell through their eyes are stories that I believe in, I want to share, and I would do a recycling story because I believe in recycling. So, or I would do a story about family togetherness or storytelling at home or whatever, and that's my point of view. And that's, I think we all in preschool create lots of different characters. We have blobs, we have aliens, we have monsters. Whoever they are, we are in this world, in this emotional space, and that's what we are lending ourselves into. So I would love to cry. You know how you go to a Pixar movie, and it's a blob, and you're still crying bucket loads. And that's kind of why, because you're touching the emotions, you're feeling relatability to yourself and to someone else.
That's fantastic. Brilliant. So we wanted to kind of make that point, really, because as I say, we're unlikely to be able to touch on that sense of authenticity throughout the rest of the session, but it's a really key kind of take-home for you. So wanted to share that. Okay, let's get creative. Okay, I'm thinking, I wanted to build this as Whose Line Is It Anyway meets Build-A-Bear Workshop meets W1A. Okay, so let's see kind of how close we get to this.
And Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to make a character. Preschool animated character with a particular interest or skill. My beautiful assistant, Katie, is going to come up and write on the high-tech laser display board here, just as a way of capturing our thoughts, because I am going to forget them. So please be brave and just throw out some ideas. Apparently something similar was done in another session, and what they created was, I believe, a sandwich called Ethel, which is fine. Let's steer away from sandwiches, shall we? Let's try and do something else. So let's start with a character. So are we thinking human? Are we thinking vehicle? Are we thinking a kind of creature of some kind? Please just throw out a couple of ideas. A frog, thank you. Can you write that on the board? Other things, pardon me?
A leaf.
A leaf, thank you. Any other? A cat?
A Roomba.
Pardon me?
Roomba. Like those
Vacuum cleaners.
Thank you so much. You can spell that.
I knew this would happen. What was that? It's a little vacuum.
Couple more, yeah.
A tick.
A tick. Yep. A chicken. Snail. Okay, that's good. We've got enough there to get us going. In a minute, I'm going to pair one of those with a particular skill or a trait, perhaps. A trapeze artist. I'm hearing a wizard. Hang on. Hang on a second. Someone from over there? Chef? I heard journalist. Skateboarder.
She can't write.
Cartoon writer.
She needs to write.
Yeah, that's okay. It doesn't matter if we don't capture them all. That's fantastic. Morris dancer was delightful as well. I'm going to take one more. Say again? A vacuum cleaner. Okay, someone who vacuums. Right. So I'm going to try and be brave, and I'm going to pick one of those, or two of those. I'm going to go for a frog chef. Okay? So we are broadly going to start developing around the idea of a frog chef. Now let's have a little think about some of the environmental factors. Where are they, and what kind of storylines might they be getting up to? Anyone feel brave enough?
He runs a restaurant down near the pond.
Yep. Okay, runs a restaurant in a pond.
Italian restaurant.
An Italian restaurant near a pond. Just alternative ideas to that, anyone? A vegan. Okay. Any other kind of, I'm not, this sounds like I'm not wanting to go with that idea. I just want to get a few different ones out.
In space?
In space, there we go. So we've got a frog chef in space as another alternative idea. A cruise ship. Just one more maybe.
School canteen.
I was going to say exactly that.
I'm going to go with...
Sushi chef.
Very passionate. No, I like it. Okay, and because I'm a democratic kind of chap, I'm going to put this to a vote, okay? So by the gift of volume, okay, when I read them out, you need to make noise, and whichever one gets most noise, we're going to go with, okay? So we've got a frog chef. Would you like to see that frog chef in space? Yeah. Would you like to see that frog chef on a cruise ship? Would you like to... This is the most... I think I'm having a cheese dream. Would you like to see a frog chef in a karaoke bar? Yeah. Cruise ship it is. Okay, underline that bad boy. Okay. So here we go. Now let's just try and get a slight sense of the kind of storylines that might happen. Preschool, animation, a frog chef on a cruise ship. Can I suggest maybe that we visit different parts of the world? Everyone happy with that as an idea? Maybe that we have different visitors on the ship, and there are problems that the frog chef has to solve.
Food intolerance.
And there are food intolerances to think about. Could we move this, gentleman? Okay. So now we're going to play a bit of a game of life thing. Our wonderful broadcast representative here is going to chip in at points along our development process to say the kind of things that we might hear broadcasters or platforms say at some point. And it's then our job to evaluate to what extent we want to continue in that development way that maybe they have guided us to, or do we want to stick to our guns with what we have? This is very much the kind of thing that we will all encounter as we develop character-led concepts. So let's imagine perhaps that we have had the amazing idea of a frog chef who travels the world on a cruise ship, and we come to an event like CMC, and we hear at one of the commissioner sessions that perhaps we've been in earlier, and we hear a broadcaster say...
So a frog chef on a cruise ship, I don't know if it's noisy enough. I'm really looking for something stickier. And actually, it's all about sustainability at the moment. And I just don't really know whether a cruise ship is kind of a good look, just thinking about the environment. I was kind of feeling something more in the area of a leaf. I don't know if you could come up with an idea around a character that might be a leaf, perhaps, John?
Right, okay. So, I mean, if you hear that from a stage, you're doing very well. So you may hear, I'm going to kind of pick on a couple of things that you said there. Words like noisy and sticky, those kind of terms that you might go, yeah, but what does that mean? Okay, so I'm going to just address some questions to the panel. I'm going to come to you first of all, Chitra. As a creator, when you hear phrases like that, what does that do to you as a creator, and what are you in mind to do with that information?
First, I would go find a pillow and scream loudly into it. And then I'll calm down and wonder. I might go, okay, I understand the sustainability fact of cruise ship, especially we all know about the horror stories of cruise ship on COVID times. So I might go, also. And then I might think about, I didn't always understand what sticky meant, but I also don't understand what noisy meant. So I might call desperately somebody like Becky and go, what does noisy mean? For a long time when I was on Nickel and Jay, they all used to write something dial, and I always thought they wanted me to adjust the dial on the emotion, but they all meant dialogue, and I found out that after having 25 episodes, I found out. So there you go. But what I might think of, some of it might stick with me. So some of the points that they might raise go, oh, maybe this is changeable without changing the true north for me. But at the same time, I might not go to a leaf.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to make a decision as a group in a minute to what extent we try to incorporate some of that thought into our idea. I'm going to come to you, Becky, first of all. Let's, again, play the scenario that we've had that idea. We've come to a session like CMC. We've heard a broadcaster say some of their wants or desires, maybe things like, we're looking for comedy at the moment. And then let's say, there was a laugh to that. They do say that they want comedy.
Yeah.
They all say that multiple years in a row. But you also have the opportunity here to connect with others. So let's say you meet with a writer and you say, hey, I've got this idea of a frog chef on a cruise ship. As an experienced writer, Becky, representing all writers here ever,
Yep.
what are you thinking about when you start to approach a character-led idea?
I think, like Chitra said, that true north thing, like it is, whether it's a frog or a leaf or whatever the character is, it is working out what is the child relatable thing about that character. Like, what is the child at home going to take from that character and talk to their friends about that character? How are they going to relate to that character? You know, is that character supposed to make that child laugh? Is it supposed to make them aspire to be like them, or be angry with them, or root for them? So those are the universals, those are the transferable things. And then I would probably think, similarly, like, why is it sticky? So why is this, whether it's a frog or a leaf, what are the key character traits that being on that cruise ship brings out, being a chef on that cruise ship? Is it impatience? Are they actually desperate to be in the karaoke bar, and are they kind of cooking by day, but are they, is their goal to actually perform? So you'd think about what does that character want and why, and how is that relatable to a child? Because when we're talking about, like, first of all, actually on this kind of thing, you'd think, well, that's quite an adult job. So how would a child relate to that? Mm-hmm. So how would a 5-year-old play at being a frog on a cruise ship?
Yeah.
And why is that important to them?
And are you immediately thinking quantity of storylines?
Yes. And so whether that was, like you said, is it the cruise ship goes to different places? Is it the guests on it? Is it the different shows that they put on? Is it the different meals? Like, do you lean into the chef thing? So ultimately what you're looking at is, have I seen this before? Has it kind of pulled at my...
I think it's fair to say no.
Possibly never again.
Yeah.
Is it pulling at my, kind of gut heartstrings, or is it making me guffaw with laughter? And can I feel already the stories piling from it?
Okay. Great. I'm going to come to Katie, who, as you can see, has either been feverishly working away or getting a new high score on an app, in which case, all the best to you.
Both are plausible.
And so, as we, as creators, conceive of character ideas, we obviously quite quickly want to envisage it, and we want to be able to show others what it looks like. So as a character designer, as someone who works in animation, what kind of things are you mindful of and talk to creators about when they're bringing you the concept of a character?
Sure. So it's a lot of questions all at once, just to know as much information as possible is better. So there's like the technical questions of, is it 2D or 3D? Is it going to be a warmer, gentle, younger? Is it going to be more action? Is it going to be more comedy? These all affect the ways that you kind of want to express information about that character. And then you do get those expressive questions of, if they are a chef on a cruise ship, what information do you need to communicate with whatever budget you have visually in order to get that character across? Because basically, when you have to know who that character is when you look at it as much as you can. So that's kind of the first story that's being told before anything even moves.
Okay.
So it's a lot of questions, a lot of defining kind of the parameters of what the design needs to live in, and then how do you best express that.
Fantastic. And have you got anything that you would like to share with us at the moment?
I've got a frog's face and a bit of a leaf. So I wasn't quite sure where we'd landed yet.
Would we all like to see a frog's face
I'll
and a
show
bit
the
of a
frog
leaf?
'cause it's nicer. He's not on a cruise ship yet, he's just a bit disembodied. And then we've got this bit of a leaf with no face. So, and then these are just references in the corner. But yeah, this is where we are with the
That's amazing. I would literally weep if someone had asked me to try and draw either of those. Less are still in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Let's take that off the screen. And now let's help Katie take that idea a little bit further, because we, as a group of kind of creative collective here, we now need to decide in what way might we want to develop the idea, either to lean into what we feel a broadcaster may be wanting, or to, I guess, stick to what it was that we originally came up with. So this is where I start to panic, because I have no idea how to do this in a room of however many kind of people we are, really. But I'm going to say hands up if you want to keep the frog, and then we'll do one for the leaf. So hands up if you want to keep the frog. Okay, so we're keeping the frog. That's fine. That's good. Unlucky, Katie. I've got the mic. Back off. We're now going to go, do we want to be heading into sustainability kind of theme or comedy? Okay, that's the options that I want you to stick your hands up for now.
You can do both. You can do both.
You can do both.
I'm just trying to make it easier.
Comedy's sustainable.
Okay, so whilst we could do both, I'm going to go, who wants this more of the sustainability kind of angle? Listening to the broadcaster, really kind of leaning into what they were saying. Or comedy, who wants to be?
You both. You have to do both.
Okay, or a bit of both, that's fine. Okay, right, let me just consult my notes here to see how we're going to take this forwards. Okay, let's imagine, what I would like to kind of play with a little bit now is, because I don't know, how experienced some of you are in the room, whether you've come to this conference for the first time and you haven't yet had a face-to-face meeting with a broadcaster or not, or whether you've done it multiple times. But as we tried to workshop kind of earlier, you may hear something given from the stage, and you may then go, right, what do I do with that piece of information? But then you may have the opportunity to do a face-to-face pitch at some times. Maybe some of you have had that experience of a speed pitch so far this week. So let's imagine, if we can, Bridget, the kind of things that a broadcaster might say to us when we meet them kind of face-to-face. And feel free to comment too as to what it's like being a broadcaster, hearing someone pitch to you face-to-face. So what kind of things might a broadcaster say or feel with this beautiful little idea we've got of a frog chef having lots of very comedic fun on a cruise ship in a sustainable way?
I think the way I approach commissioning is very much like the way Katie's describing, and I ask a lot of questions. And so, to be honest with you, I would always turn it on the producer, because the way I have always co-developed ideas with people who pitch to me is that they're the creative and I'm more like the creative facilitator. So my job is to help them understand the parameters of the opportunity, both financially, both in terms of the audience, the schedule, and then help them take their germ of an idea on a journey where hopefully it can get commissioned. So what I would ask you is, first of all, tell me about your idea briefly.
Okay, well, okay, now I'm on the spot.
In the script.
Okay, so we've got a great character called Bernardo. Bernardo is a beautiful little frog character, and he's going on the trip of a lifetime around the world. He loves cooking for his friends who are on a preschool-friendly cruise ship. And
Okay, I can stop you there.
Sure.
So,
Would you like to sign?
And so, I mean, that's fantastic. First of all, your shit sandwich, really well done, amazing idea.
Thanks.
And then I go in. So, I mean, just thinking, really about the audience, because ultimately, we're a channel, we're focused on our audience, and the content is not for us, it's for the audience. I'm just wondering how you feel this is going to be relatable to a preschool child in terms of them traveling the world, because at that age, their world is actually very, very small. Often they may not have even gone to nursery, and so some of the things that you're going to deal with, traveling the world, and also dealing with the kind of the precinct of a cruise ship, I think are a bit beyond the world and the scope and the interests of a preschool child. So that would be one of my first pieces of feedback.
And and the most positive thing that a creator can say in that space, because I'm just reflecting on how in a commissioner's conversation earlier session, the comment was made that it's not best practice for a creator to take umbrage to what is said and to go, I hear what you're saying, but you're wrong.
No, I think you can. I think if you believe in something, I'm very stubborn, so I would fight for it. I think it's about trying to understand, a bit like what you were saying, is like you have to distill what I'm saying and just try to work out, of everything that you're passionate about, what can you keep? And so the thing that I'm having the problem with is the cruise ship. I don't have a problem with the frog. I don't have a problem with the capers and the kind of mischief that's going to happen on the cruise ship. So maybe you can, I don't know, can it not be, I don't know, a bus? I don't know, you've got to bring it down. But if you love the character, you love the stories that you hope to tell, that character can tell, just change the concept, context, change the precinct. I think going around the world is ridiculous because they're too young.
Fantastic.
They're too young. They don't have a concept of the world.
Yeah.
They have a concept of home and possibly nursery. So how can you dial it all down, but keep the essence of your character? That's what I would advise.
Thank you.
But I like the leaf.
It is. It's stripping it. Yeah. It's
For the makers of go-jetters in the room, it'll never work going around the world. No. This is the thing. There is always a reason why, as a creator, you go, I hear what you're saying, but I think you're wrong. Okay, but that's fine, because this is it, isn't it? Well, we need to be working with one another in order to do that. So what I think we, as creators, should hear very clearly there is that for this broadcaster, and let's be fair, different broadcasters will have different things, and it may not be right that we are to take this idea to you.
Totally.
But let's say that we desperately want the idea to be suitable to this broadcaster. I think it's fair we've got to be hearing that the cruise ship isn't quite right, okay? So let's scrub that off, Katie. And what you said was a bus. You mentioned the word bus. Now, this is something that I want to just tap on, is because if you have had the fortune of being in with a commissioner, the moment they say something, you think, should I be really leaning into that? I mean, I have worked with development producers who have come to understand what suite the commissioner likes the best, and in a mad panic has told us as a development team to run out and get Percy Pigs the moment before we go into a room with a commissioner, because we're trying to give her literally what we think she wants. Have one of these. And so, are we feeling happy with the idea of changing our frog chef to a bus as a hands up? Yeah, why not? Let's go in that direction, because we think we might be able to get the broadcaster going in that direction. Hands up if you think you're happy to go with the idea of a bus. Hands up if you go, I really like the idea of a cruise ship and I kind of want to stick with that. Oh, that's even. We're going to do this vote again because I didn't give you the two options before. Bus, cruise ship. Oh, man, I think the bus just has it. I think the bus just has it.
But I'm saying, if you really feel wedded to the cruise ship, I think it's just about then you pushing back to the commissioning editor and trying to explain to them why you feel it is integral to the story.
Sure, it's
and
got
the
a
narrative.
light geography kind of
Well, you just have to explain,
value.
really. I think it's about taking them on a journey and justifying your creative choices.
Yeah.
So that's how I would approach it if you are insisting on the cruise ship.
That's really helpful. I'm going to come to Julianne at this point because she's been sitting very patiently and I don't want to... what I think was really key about the conversations that we had before this session was how the likes of yourself, voiceover artists, actors, would love to be involved really early on.
Yeah.
So just speak to that a little.
Yeah, we would. I mean, actors would be. And I think as soon as you mentioned voice acting, everybody goes, that's the really expensive bit. That's right at the end of the whole process. But I'm very enthusiastic about the idea of bringing actors in early to help with the character development. After all, that's what we're all about, character development, as are the writers. So I run scripts out loud, and so as soon as there's anything, as soon as there's some dialogue, or if it's non-verbal actions about the character, you can start playing with the actors. So just there's opportunities, obviously, improvising and things which not many people do at all. But certainly when you're like pitching, somebody said yesterday, one of the panel said in the pitching one, put your money where your mouth is, he said, I'd love to be able to hear the dynamic between these two characters, the comedy, and it works really well. So, and because you're not having to pay for the broadcasting, so you're not paying the usage for the actors. It's not, and we do it remotely, and it's not as expensive, I don't think, as people would think, and it's hugely beneficial.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Becky, you look like you want to say something.
I was just going to add, I just think it's really important to share your character as early as possible in your development with other people. And I know that sounds obvious, but some people are quite silo with it because they think it's come from them and it's their character, and they don't want lots of distracted voices, and they want to keep, they've whistled it down and they want a pure pitch. But actually, those that have been lucky enough to have been in lots of writers' rooms, there is nothing like that character bit at the beginning of a writer's room. And as much time that you can spend on that, to put your character into other people's hands, and it's magic, isn't it? When you see other people going, oh yeah, I get that character because, or there's a bit of me that's like that, or my neighbour's kid's like that, or, I can completely see that character doing this. So as much time as you can do to that, whether that is with voiceover artists or animators or other writers or your friends, or it is so important. And actually, on that, even when you do get into a writer's room, I've been on shows that have been really developed, and they think that the development's done, and the Bible's ready, or it's a second series, and you just go into stories. And actually, it's so valuable time spent. Everything comes back to those moments, and the things that are scribbled on a whiteboard, and little sparks, character sparks. So
I'd like to throw a question out to the whole panel. So chip in if you have an answer to this. We've heard clearly today from the commissioners that shared earlier that they're not able to fully fund. Therefore, the international community and part, jigsaw financing from around the world is really, really important. I just would love some kind of anecdotes of when you hear that kind of needs to work internationally, the pressure that you feel and how you adapt a character to suit an international environment. Any tips or tricks or anecdotes pertaining to that?
I think when you're creating, especially for preschool, or you're picking even bridge, you're thinking more about the universal relatability of kids. Like when books can travel, and they get translated, the same way TV shows can travel without you having to change it so much from what it is. So I've been pitching this week And I've been pitching to international broadcasters, international production companies. And in my pitch was the written pitch, was specific to British, but I was able to say it verbally when I was saying, this is how I would substitute if you picked it up, and if this becomes a home production for France, this is how it would work, and this is how it would work in Canada. And I had those examples in my mind, because I knew who I was meeting. So I can go prepared with these other things I would substitute if you come on board, and why my format will hold good within all of those expansions. And again, when if you go into series 2 and somebody else comes on board, then you have a creative process with them as well. At that point, you might have to do some of those extensions. But if you have a good character, like when you said bus and we all put our hands, I'm thinking series 1 bus, series 2 cruise ship.
Okay.
Right? And I'm going, yeah, frogs on the bus go croak, 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 and then we'll go on the ship and row, 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 and we can do it. And
Just gonna write that down.
it's that imagination, isn't it? Then you can immediately, like for me, cruise ship, immediately I can imagine, oh, there's a swimming pool I can go into, and a frog can jump into a soup bowl or a punch bowl, and then it's trying to do lots of things. But I can also see it on a bus. I can see it's on a paper boat or a wooden boat in a pond being a chef. So I can quickly go through all of those iterations in my head and come up with the one I want.
You're off and running. I love it. It's great. Anyone else want to speak to that international
I guess
piece?
the international thing is you could always make it non-verbal. So, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You're doing yourself out of a job there.
No, I'm doing
go
a
on,
non-verbal thing at the moment. I've done a few non-verbal things because
Fantastic.
they have to be fully formed characters and they just make noises.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great point. No, really, really good. Love it. Okay, I would like to just tap into this kind of thought of how much we need to come up with characters that are really different and really distinctively different. And Katie, I'm going to come to you at some point in terms of animation design and to how important it is to find a look that is distinctively different. I mean, Becky, you've written on a shed load of shows. Do you ever find that you're writing for a character and go, actually, this could very easily be another character from another show? Like, how important is it to find the essence that makes them really distinctive from other characters?
I mean, very important. I mean, that is one of the first things that's one of the first questions you ask. But there are lots of relatable emotions that are relatable to a preschool audience. Like, you don't want to go into big, complicated character stuff, do you? But it is, so, if it's a nervous, jumpy frog, it is, why is this nervous, jumpy frog different to others? And that might be because of the precinct, or it might be because of whatever that other character trait is, which we haven't whittled down yet. Sure. But, there is something about being really nervous, but being, or jumpy, but also really wanting to explore. Or, so it is working out what the actual goal is of that character.
Yeah. Which,
it is asking questions, isn't it? It is putting them into situations. It's road testing your character. And always saying, it is having the devil advocates in the room, isn't it? It is saying, is this is it going to be like Maisie driving a bus, and how is this frog going to be different to Maisie?
I think that's a really good point, because obviously I was being a bit facetious when I was saying it needs to be noisy and sticky. I mean, I personally don't use those phrases, but I don't personally. But I do think that zooming out from just the whole kind of position of commissioning and the power of broadcasters and just putting that aside, I think commissioning editors, of which I've been one at quite a few broadcasters, we do have an advantage in that we see a really large volume of pitches, and so we're able to really see trends, we're able to compare and contrast, and if you've been doing it a little while, you're in a position to comment and thinking, like, we're done with that. Like, we've seen 100 of those. It's not going to happen. In a way that you sitting there passionately developing it on your own with your team, you may not want to let it go. And so I think, this thing of being noisy and sticky, what it's really saying is like, what's new about it? What's different? What's distinctive? How is it going to pop in the market? How is it going to speak or do something different that something else hasn't done before? I mean, that's really the sort of code for, is it noisy? Is it sticky? How is it going to cut through? And I think going back to the cruise ship, yeah, it's new and it's different. And I think that there is a way of having it almost in the background as opposed to the foreground. It can just be the context. And interestingly enough, personally, if I was to hear this idea, I think the chef aspect's somehow lost. That's the thing that I'd be the most interested in, is the chef, because food is very relatable to children.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic.
And actually, when you were first saying about the cruise ship being sort of too big, actually what I got from that, note-wise, was it does need to be stripped back for this preschool audience, and their world is, the smallest thing's massive. So actually a frog in a frog kitchen, and it might be the big kitchen for the cruise ship, or it might be the kitchen for the frog staff, or the leaflings, or whatever, if you want to get leaflings into it. And that is the world they're exploring. So they're not exploring the world, they're exploring around this
100%.
This kitchen
100%.
and the utensils and the and the different foods that come in and the things that happen, and the jumpiness plays into that, and so it is, you start with big ideas and then it is whittling it down and making that world preschool relatable, working out what those really identifiable characteristics are that the child in the playground's going to tell their mates about and do an impression of.
Because you've really hit the nail on the head. And when it comes to the preschool content, this whole thing of co-viewing is such an important part of it. And so if you think about something like Bluey, where there is kind of a level it operates for adults, but also a level it operates for the preschool audience. And I think, to your point, adults definitely understand the world of cruise ships, and it's quite funny and quite kitsch, but you are just dialing all of that down and sort of making it quite small and relatable and kind of pocket-sized.
Yeah, and that's funnier. That's where the sustainable comedy comes in.
And also, and I think as a creator, I will be told by either my production company or somebody I meet with as a broadcaster saying, oh, they can't go to different places on each episode. Do you know how much that costs? So then you'll have to figure out a way of making the world that kitchen so that you've got 3 or 4 places that children can relate to. Like I said, maybe the pool, maybe the play area within the cruise ship. And those are the 3 places you're going to see. And you're not going to see the island they stop at and go into the market or whatever. So you're just going to see that.
Great stuff. Lovely, great insights there. And it's really clear, isn't it, how you have an idea, but the different kind of angles that everyone is coming at it from is just massively helpful in the thought process and the development of an idea. Now, I'm looking at Katie and I'm wondering how she's getting on. What I feel like, so I don't know what she's done, I can't see this down here, but what I feel like we should zone in on, just to give you a little bit more for the next few minutes worth of your sketching, is an emotion that really sums up the character, because Becky was touching on it there. Is he jumpy, as in, nervous, worried, or excited? So throw out a couple of kind of emotional qualities that perhaps we could brainstorm and pick one to then give to Katie so she can put a nice expression on our frog's face. What's he called?
Bernardo.
Bernardo, thanks for Bossy. We've got Bossy. A showman. Kind. Enthusiastic. Any more?
Seasick.
Have you seen a frog get sick?
Oh, don't make me
I don't want to. I don't want to.
Bit green in the gills.
Which one of those do you like, Katie?
What were the options again?
Anxious.
Bossy.
I quite like
Bossy.
showman and enthusiastic.
Great.
Like the showmanship of a cruise ship, a bit like show cooking. Kind of fits a little bit in my
Bernardo,
head for me.
the showman chef. That's what we've ended up with. Okay, fantastic. We have got about 15 minutes left, and so I'm going to ask one question, but then we have got time to throw it out there. I'd love to hear you kind of have an opportunity to ask questions as well. So do get thinking. My question is this: when do you start testing your idea with children? Now, as someone who writes books, you're doing that almost no, the character development is obviously done as part of the book, but in terms of the TV process, then you've got all of that knowledge of how children engage with the book. But any anecdotes or kind of good practice as to when to start sharing an idea on children?
It's almost the pre-research, as you say. So when I go into schools, I'm always asking them what animals they like and what would they be and what pets do they have, and all of that gives you an idea. But the trick is more the other way. You can't go and road test every idea before you finish working on it, because a lot of people might not have access to that. If you have kids at home, great. If you are a teacher or something like that, you'll have access. But otherwise, you're going to be taking that character and making them more relatable. And for me, I'm single. I don't have kids, but I work with children quite a lot in schools. But I will go, what was I at this age? What was a 5-year-old? What my nephews were? When I go into a preschool, how do they behave with me? And take those attributes and then feed it into that and see whether the stories work. So I don't think it's practical always to do the other way around.
Yeah. Bridget, from a broadcaster's point of view, does it help if someone comes in and says, I know kids love this character? I mean, me?
Not necessarily, I would say, because I think not everyone has children. And I think there are a variety of ways. I think one of the tried and tested ways with broadcasting is using data and research and insight. So we have... for example, I was recently at Paramount, and there are big teams that really give us insight about the behaviours of the audience, their likes, their dislikes. So I don't think necessarily you have an advantage if you have children. I don't think necessarily. I think you can make amazing content and not have children. I think it's about really understanding how, to your point, Sintra, it's like how your idea resonates with the audience, whether you're close to them or not. And I think
on that point of resonance, though, what I just reflect back, and I'd be really interested to know by show of hands, anyone who's had this experience in the room, if you do have a conversation with a broadcaster and they say, my kids have just got into cooking. Oh, they love cooking. And you think, I've got a chef show. This is awesome. And you feel like they might be making commissioning decisions based on their audience of one at home. Has anyone had that experience of a broadcaster say, or is it just the broadcasters I'm meeting? Thanks, Howard. That's awesome. We've been around long enough to do that. Okay, good stuff. We're going to open it out to questions. So anyone want to stick their hands up, and I'll run around with a mic, and if you could say your name before so that everyone can hear you, and then say your question. Anyone got any questions about anything to do with this process of character development? Be brave, come on.
I have a question.
Okay.
To ask the audience, and I'm interested in knowing where they think we should take this character.
Okay.
Yeah, because
fine.
Which broadcaster?
No, I mean in terms of because obviously we've gone down a particular road, but I'm curious to know if anyone else would have taken it anywhere else. The frog, the chef, the ship. But in terms of emotions, because I think showman is definitely one. But I'm just curious to know, like, if anyone had any other ideas.
Anyway, yeah, go on. Let me just pass this to you, and there you go.
Cheers. I was never a fan of the cruise ship, I'm going to say it. I think I was just thinking a lot about food, and food is a lot about community, and you said something about how big their worlds are, and that made me think of that local community. And you also said, like, a pond that is frogs are very special. They go underwater, they go above water. In their community, they'd be very special. And I just thought, that kind of, you've got that pond, which would be their town, their village, and just something a bit more local. You can still have, food can take you anywhere while you're at home. So you can still be doing dishes from all over the place, and but I would have taken it a little bit more local, but maybe I'm boring.
Nice.
Yeah.
In fact, today at the broadcaster commissioner conversation, that was one of the things they wanted to know. What the world is. No character exists alone is what Kyle said, isn't it?
And so relationships, Becky, when you're thinking about when someone perhaps brings you a singular character, I mean, is there a rule of thumb as to how many characters are too many in a preschool animation show?
I mean, there is such a thing as too many, and often that's down to animation and how many can be on screen, but also...
We're going to give you 15 other characters in a minute, Katie. We'd just like you to draft. Right.
I mean, you want to you want them to be distinctively different, don't you? So it's about them not overlapping. I mean, 2 or 3 always works well. I think one of the other things to mention at this point is to really make sure this character has agency and a lot of, all these ideas. And that's something that commissioners always point out as well, isn't it? It's like, why is this the central character as well? And why is this central character interesting? Because often a central character can be the leader, the kind one, the one that fixes things, whatever, so it is why are kids going back to the playground, why are they going to love them? So it is, how do they make things happen? How do they drive the stories rather than things happen to them?
Yeah.
So
good stuff.
And that often is back to who their friends are.
Great take home. I'm going to whiz the mic off over here. What was your comment about?
Hi, I have a question just about the commissioning process. Because I'm quite new to this. So if I have a concept and I've been working on that concept for a really long time and I come to you and you say, I'm actually looking for this, this and this, which is completely different. Am I then expected in the room off the cuff to just say, well, actually, it is on a bus or it is on a this? Or am I realistically, like how many endless meetings could it then, like, will you give me another opportunity to come back and go, okay, well, I've taken all your ideas on board and now I have this. Like, is it just an endless cycle of potential meetings? Or, I mean, is it in the moment you have to off the cuff decide? Or, because obviously the character or the concept that I would have developed, it would have been maybe a year in the making. So is it that a much sort of fluidity, I guess, in the moment?
I think it really, in all honesty, depends on who you are. I think if you have you've got a really strong track record and you've got a really solid historic relationship with a broadcaster and commissioners, it's a conversation. It can go on. It can go on for months, and you may be speaking for months about one thing, and something else may be developed or commissioned or explored. I think ultimately, if you think about commissioning and pitching, it's sales. So really, if you have an opportunity to sell yourself and you're in front of someone selling yourself, the onus is on you to do the best job that you can to secure that. To secure that opportunity. I think taking it away and out of the room and letting it go on and on and on is not necessarily in your best interest. So even if you have no intention of actually changing everything, I think you have to give the commissioning as to the sense that you have heard them and you understand what they require or what they want to buy. Because ultimately this is a business of buying and selling. And they're telling you, I have money to buy this. And you're telling them you want to buy that. And they're going to say, I don't want to buy that.
Good stuff. I'm going to come for one more question and then we may just begin our wrap-up process.
Sorry, it's a kind of comment rather than a question. I'm slightly going to challenge you. But I was just thinking about, getting the audience's feedback on a character and their point of view. And I don't think you have to have children to do that, but I do think it's massively important. And I think it can be very difficult. I totally get that not everyone has access, but there are ways and means of doing that. A lot of schools, for example, or nurseries would utterly welcome anyone from this industry into their room to talk a little bit about what they do and to tell the kids about the jobs that there are in those industries. And you can get some feedback along the way in those sessions. And obviously that's a bit tricky to set up. That can be quite challenging, but it can be so vital and important, and you can learn so much about like whether something's resonating, whether it means something to those kids, because to be honest, we're all grown-ups and we're all out of touch a bit. We don't know. And to just sort of say, I'm going to put myself back in that situation. So many things have changed since then. So I just think, I know, Chitra, you go into schools all the time, so you're incredibly on the pulse with like what all the kids are thinking. But I just think like that's actually mega important. If there's any way you can make it happen, like meet your audience, like work anything, trial things on them, like get as much feedback as you can, I would say.
Good stuff. Thank you for that, Lottie. Appreciate that. So, because we are close to the end of the conference, we're going to end this session on a good, positive note. So let's imagine that Bernardo, our frog chef, who in Series 1 is on a bus, and Series 2, we're definitely going to get him on that cruise ship.
Yeah.
Full of storylines of comedy and sustainability. We've worked it up a treat. Katie's given us an awesome image, which we'll see in a second. Becky's committed herself as head writer, gladly, not even for a fee.
Representative all writers.
Julianne has provided the voice. We've got a brilliant package together. We've managed to submit it via the official system to the broadcasters, and our broadcaster says...
Yes, I'd love to commission it.
Yeah, come on! Yeah. And it's amazing. It's like I put the words into your mouth, and it's like... And you fully funded it as well, which is wonderful, and thank you so much for that. So, thank you very much to the panel for speaking to us. What we're going to do is we've got 5 top tips, which is something that we like to end all of the Art of sessions with. And so I'm going to go down the line really quickly. I think you each gave one of these. Yes, we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. So, real quickly, if you can, just whiz down. Bridget, you go first.
Yeah, so mine was the first of the number ones. And it was really understand and prioritize the audience. Think about the purpose of the character you're creating and who you hope it will connect with, really speaking to Lottie's point.
Chitra, can you remember which yours was?
Yeah, last one. So it's to know your true north, put something of yourself into that character so you always know that the character is true and you know that, especially when people are pulling it from every direction like they did now, you know where to stick to.
Fantastic. Becky?
I forgot what I wrote, but they're quite wordy. 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll merge them into one. But I think this thing of sharing it with as many people, getting your character manhandled by as many people as possible and seeing where they take it is really important. Like we've seen, like even just doing this and seeing. And being prepared for it to change and develop and surprise you. You know, so don't have a true north, but don't be set in stone.
Yeah. Julianne, do you have a...
Hello. Yeah, my point isn't on there, so I'll just say something.
Sure. That would be point number 1.
Yeah. Well, from an actor's perspective, we really want to know the characters, sort of what's at stake and the intentions of what's going on, the relationships and the dynamics, and any comedy that we can get out of it. But for actors, make sure you really read the brief and look at the artwork for clues. I like to look at the hands and the eyes tend to give you quite good insight into the openness of the character. And then, what else did I say? Well, just play. Go like from one completely different voice character to another, and somewhere you'll land. It's all about playing.
Good stuff. Yeah. Thank you. Katie, your top tip?
Yeah, I think I was number 1, part 2. Yeah, it's storytelling through your design. I kind of referenced it earlier, but it's that idea that someone looks at your character and they know it's a frog. They know, and if they can tell that they're a chef, have some nods towards like their environment, it will just help them feel so much more alive to that person. They'll be able to kind of recognise what are the elements from that character through their expression or the way they're holding themselves that I can relate to, that's going to make me interested in learning about their stories, really.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I just have one more. Buy a pillow.
Yeah. And I'm just going to reflect one of the things that's mentioned in there was said in the Paddington creative keynote yesterday that Michael Bond knew what Paddington's reaction would be in any given situation. And I thought that was a really fantastic summary of what a great character is when you know what they would do if any situation was thrown at them. I felt that was a really good take home as well. Fantastic. We have reached the end of our session. Thank you very much for inputting into that. Can we give our panel a big round of applause? We are going to end by seeing Katie's creation. So, ladies and gentlemen, Bernardo will now appear before your very eyes. Can we please cut to Katie's pad?
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely. Those sausages coming out.
I cannot wait for next year, CMC and
put your money where your mouth
broadcasters saying, we've had a surprising amount of pitches come in over the last year about frogs on cruise ships. And as if that was enough, the notices that always get read at the end of every CMC session these notices are going to be read by Bernardo as given to us by Julianne.
Okay. The showman.
Hi! Next up is the final session of the conference, the last word, where the whole conference comes back together. And this year, the last word is coming from the world's most famous fox, Basil Brush. That's downstairs in Cinema 4 in just 20 minutes. Don't miss it.
There's more. I can't do any more.
Not without strain.
Thank you very much. Have a great rest of conference.
Well done. Thank you, John. That was amazing.